And we are recording on Tuesday, September 9th, 2025 at 12:29 p.m. Eastern Time with Miss Lily Tang Williams for Congress and in my home area of New England, specifically New Hampshire. I'm in Maine now, but Miss Williams, please introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and why you're running and especially your experiences and how you understand it's not an abstract idea. You understand what communism is, and you know exactly that we should be sprinting in the opposite direction.
Mhm. Well, thank you for having me first time on your show, Tommy.
Yes, ma'am.
I am a legal Chinese immigrant, survived communism. I came to USA in 1988 to basically live under freedom, and I was not political. I came here with nothing, $100 and $1,200 in debt, and could not speak English. Almost 24 years old, but God is so good. I have, lived the American dream. Met my husband first night after I came over from China in Austin, Texas, and we dated 2 years. And in graduate school, we got married, and after that, we got three kids, wonderful children born in this country as Americans, and
It's
I start my
amazing.
own business. Yeah, I start my own business because I got laid off by a corporation in 2000, and then I start to have more time to learn English, to get involved locally, and to learn about my new country's political system. So under Obama, I truly wake up because it's like what he's talking about. He sounds like a socialist, like all that ideology, terms, tactics that I saw before in China. So I start to come out actively oppose his socialist policies, Obamacare, Common Core, gun control. So I was nobody, just a grassroots activist back then in Colorado with three children, a mom of three kids, and I have never stopped for 10 years. I become a US citizen 30 years ago, actually 30, almost 11, like 31 years ago. So America is my home, and I'm an American citizen by choice, but I love this country. I want to give back to the country and to the New Hampshire people who welcome me with open arms. And I see the change in our country. I cannot stay quiet. I cannot keep my head down because not speaking up, not push back, I know the consequences of that. What happened to me in communist China can happen here. So here I am as a congressional candidate in New Hampshire, 2nd District, lilytangwilliams.com. And I will appreciate people check me out and support me. And we can actually win this if I have the patriots all over the country, especially all over the New England and New Hampshire back me.
And again, it is important just because the very basis of everything we're talking about, right? So it's like, all right, why would somebody put themselves in a situation where at 24 years old you go to a country whose language you don't speak, only have $100 and $1,200 in debt? Like, why in God's name? If that was anything else, why? Like, I would not put my why I would not move to China at age 35 with why would you? Well, there has to be a pushing force. There has to be a selecting force. Why did you do that? Why did the
Yeah.
person jump out of the building? Well, the building was on fire. They didn't want to jump. It's that it was on fire. Okay. So if somebody's willing to do that, 24 years old, go to a country, don't speak their language, $100, $1,200 in debt. What in God's name could have driven that? And it's fire. It's desperation. It's evil. You can't stay quiet. It's one thing if I grew up in the United States, if I'm like, yeah, communism's bad, you know that firsthand. It shaped your life. And I think that's a powerful foundational bedrock to stand on is you can actually talk about it.
Well, that long story short, I was born in communist China under Mao and grew up during his Cultural Revolution, which is from 1966 to 1976. So I was 2 years old when he started his Cultural Revolution, and when he ended, because he died, I was 12 years old. I was totally brainwashed. I had no idea about the truth. I thought he was a godlike leader because we were required in schools to chant "Long live Chen Mao, long live Communist Party, 10,000 years, double 10,000 years." All religions were deemed to be cult, and CCP, one party, controls everything. No private companies and the private properties ownership, and no schools that is not government schools. All press, all media, all the land, all the industries were controlled by one party. Imagine I was only 2 years old, living in this community workers' housing with 8 families, shared one bathroom with children. 8 family was total primitive and poverty, but we did not know we were supposed to say "Kongbayang" to the Mao, to the Chinese Communist Party. My mom and dad were workers. They were almost illiterate, so they were not educated. They were told to work for the Chinese government 6 days a week. I mean, my uncles did not even finish high school. And after Mao used young people like as red guards for his Cultural Revolution, where 20 million people died, he sent them to countryside to be re-educated by peasants. So near the end of the Cultural Revolution, at least the schools were opened, and I got to go to school, but still the indoctrination continues. I had no choice. I was total brainwashed, and I would go home lecture my mom, who was a Buddhist, and privately, quietly praying at home. I would criticize her. That's what the communist regime do. They turn all the kids against families. Their goal is destroying the nuclear families. And the tactic Mao used is identity politics. I say what's happening in the US. But he used the Marxism, this traditionally called oppressor versus oppressed. So divided all Chinese into 10 classes. 5 red classes like me were under oppressed groups. Sounds familiar? Then 5 black classes were under oppressor. Who were the oppressors? They were rich farmers, landlords, rightists, bad influencers, and the counter-revolutionaries were very subjective categories that deemed to be enemy of the state. And the red class, like me, workers, peasants, Communist Party officials and children, and the soldiers, and of course their murders and their families, like heroes and their families. So we were told to hate each other, to fight each other tooth and nail. And at the end of the day, Mao won. He became supreme leader. He purged all his political enemies within the China's Communist Party. And the thing is that we had no idea what was going on. We just followed the school indoctrination, and we just followed Chairman Mao's little red books and recite his quotations, like little Chairman Mao's red little quotation book that you can buy from Amazon today. And so when I heard Mao died when I was 12 years old, that was the first time in my life I started to question in my own head. I know it was not politically correct to even ask a question publicly. I said, how did he die? He is human. He is mortal. Who lied to me? Who lied to my entire generation and my parents' generation? So I decided to search for truth. How am I going to search for truth? I was poor and grew up in a very, very illiterate family. So the only chance for me to search for truth, I thought, was to go to college to study law, to get educated. And I studied law because I thought that my teacher said something when I was 16 in high school, that China was ruled by men, by madmen, a few men over, like a billion people, we were not a country of rule of law. So I said, maybe I can study law, search for truth, and build a rule of law country. I was very ambitious and patriotic toward my native country. And so when I was the age of 17, I left home, Sichuan province, which is next to Tibet. And the first time to leave my family behind took 3 days, very slow train ride to go to Shanghai to study law in Fudan University, one of the top 5 Chinese universities. Of course, all government controlled, but I tested very well, and I was a red child, and that means my parents had no political background issues. So I get to go to the government-run colleges to study. And during my 4 years college, that's when I started my long awakening process. It started the first 2 weeks in college when I was told by my professors, all work for government. The law is not for justice. The law is a tool for the governing class to use that to govern the masses. You're not an individual. You're just one of the numbers. You're one of the masses. I become totally depressed again. I got lost at the age of 12, like I lost my soul because Mao died. And the second time I got lost is the age of 17 in college to study law. Then was told law doesn't matter. It's not for justice and for equality. It's the tool. I don't want to become a tool. So I become very rebellious. I become very lost to say why I'm here to study law. So I went to dancing parties. I escaped classes. Here's something about China's 80s, if you don't know. It was the best time of my life, that time. It's like a cultural renaissance. And the Deng Xiaoping became the new leader. He started to call for economical reforms. So it was like a cultural renaissance. In my lifetime in China, we get to talk about lots of things, about not just economical reforms, let some people get rich first, but also we were discussing what kind of country we wanted. Is that one party dictatorship, or we want to democracy where people can have universal voting rights to choose, vote for their representatives, their leaders, kind of like a Western system. It was the best time of my life, and of course that it did not last very long. And I just remember when I was a third year in college, I feel so disfranchised with China, and I run into some Western students came to China to study as exchange students and scholars. And then one American student changed my life when I was a junior. He told me about the Declaration of Independence. And, and, and those beautiful words just free my mind from communist chains. And our rights come from our creator, not from government. And put something in my head. My individual rights are not from my government. Doesn't matter. I was born China. And so my light bulb never turned off. Never turned off. I become even more rebellious. And I wanted to stay in Shanghai because Shanghai is an international city and more foreigners there, more economical and international focused city. So I tried desperate to stay in Shanghai trying to avoid to be sent back to Chengdu to work because we had no labor market back then, 1985 when I graduated from law school. And they want you to normally to go back where you come from. But because of my personality, my relationship and my performance, I got to stay in Shanghai to be one of the 6, actually one of the 5 students got offered a faculty position in the same law school. That's how I stay in Shanghai, become faculty member, and continue my dialogues and discussions, my rebellious behaviors in that same college. But that did not last very long either. So it took me another long 3 years to plan my escape.
I'm I don't, yeah, I'm kind of speechless. But I think what's important is the fact that it's like when you see throughout history and different peoples discover the same things independently, the wheel, the Pythagorean theorem, gravity, whatever, the rate of water flowing, how to make fire. It's because it's a natural thing. It's it doesn't need to be forced into your head. You understand it, right? It doesn't matter, cavemen didn't need to be taught that fire is good. They felt fire, it's warm. They're like, oh, this is awesome, right? The wheel it's a natural, you go, got it, we can move stuff with it. It's a these truths to be self-evident. It's a self-evident thing. It's kind of incredible to hear it as it broaches your mind. And it's again not a neutral party. Like you said, he thought he was a god. It is I mean, I'm kind of at a loss for words, but I mean, but at its core, that you said, God is so good, but it is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. It's something that it doesn't matter where you're from. It it makes sense at your core of like, broad strokes. No one can tell you to shut up. You have a right to defend yourself with a gun. The government can't take everything that's yours, and it's because you answer to God, and and I've done 1,800 something of these episodes, but every once in a while I do have an episode like this where it's like, yeah, I don't have the flag behind me because it's pretty colors. Like I legitimately, truly love the United States with everything I have. And some people are like, oh, you're brainwashed. I'm like, no, I know what it is, and I know it has its flaws and blah blah blah. And I still take it 10 days out of 10 days. I know what it is, and I know how rare it is, and I know how wonderful it is. And yeah, no, I mean, everything you're explaining, yeah, the logical conclusion is, yeah, you have to run for office, especially if you see this, right? Because what would be the point of all the suffering if you just watched it? You're like, looks like it's turning communist. What would be the point of that? What would be
Well,
the point?
well, exactly. I feel after being politically active for over a decade, and what else can I do? Because I saw our country got worse, and I saw the same evil ideology I thought I left behind are here. You have a socialist medallion, it's running with similar kind of communist mind and policies, want to destroy private properties and want the government to provide everything to be your savior, want to demonize the so-called capitalism or the people who actually create wealth, create jobs in this country. And that's what exactly socialist communists do, except he never lived it. He never suffered consequences of those policies. And I had two neighbors disappeared. We were living on food rationing. I just shared a story about my uncle had to show me how to trap rats in my grandma's poor neighborhood and to, then burn it over fire to eat it because we were hungry. And pretty soon, rats ran out too. So what kind of socialism they're talking about here? When government runs everything, everything turn to trash and turn to dirt and run out of food and run out of toilet papers. And not even talk about the socialist medicine inside of China where my mom went to hospital, got a blood transfusion after surgery. They gave her a blood transfusion infected with syphilis virus. And when I brought her this country, she carried the virus for 20 years. She lost her memory earlier, partially due to that. And but nobody knew because there were no money for preventive care. She could never go check her blood. So all those horror stories that need to be told. I'm running because I actually have to manage the fear I have to protect my Chinese family still inside the PRC. I'm blacklisted by CCP. And for the last 10 years, I was worried about my safety So I haven't seen my family in China for 10 years. But I have to master my fear to say I'm answering God's calling to run. I'm making personal sacrifice to run. Because if people like me who know the difference and who see these similarities do nothing, say nothing, we are going to lose this country. I have seen so many granite staters keep their head down. They were afraid to speak up even for their own children, like to against the work, to against the cancel culture. We live in a live free or die state. I feel so sad to see my fellow citizens in New Hampshire are afraid to speak up, to fight back. But you say the left side is loud, is aggressive, and they address people down and they talk them like they were peasants. I just cannot put up with that. I have a free speech. I told the CCP trolls, your death threat is not going to stop me because I am an American citizen. I have the natural rights given to me by my creator. It's not from any government. So I don't care what, US government or Chinese government do to me. I'm going to speak up. I have no fear. I'm a fairness because I know how passionate I feel about defend America from the domestic and the foreign enemies and from evil ideologies like socialism and communism and totalitarianism. I know the consequences if we all keep our head down and not to fight back and push back. So I'm hoping by leading by example, more immigrants will join me and more Americans, granite staters will join me to defend our country, to defend American ideals and brought me to this country. I made a video recently just called Tim Kaine, the US Senator from Virginia. He said our rights come from laws. Yes, best passed by politicians like him. He even did not understand what is inside of our Declaration of Independence, the beautiful founding fathers document brought me to this country. People who don't believe that, they're above the people. They think they're above the people. They want to be your gods. They need to resign. He needs to resign, not to serve, not fit to serve in Congress. But there's so many Democrat politicians believe in that, think they're the saviors, and they want you to believe in government. So not personal responsibility, not ourselves, and not the people. That's why they don't serve the people anymore. They are party of elitists, and they're party of wars, and they're party of special interest lobbyists and the censorship industrial complex. So I'm not afraid at all to go out. That's why I destroyed my opponent, Maggie Goodlander. She is wife of Jake Sullivan, endorsed by Hillary Clinton, and funded by George Soros. And I feel like David against, like the Bible said. I'm just a little person, outsider, don't have much, but I have a big courage to do what I do.
No, and it's it's I think what's important is it's the way you frame it, right? I mean, and most simplistic, it would be like it's funny to see people who don't understand why conservatives are against illegal immigration, right? The low-hanging fruit, the simple argument is, oh, you don't like brown people, you don't like dude, some of my best friends are like legitimately immigrants. What they're not seeing is no, you're not seeing rapes, you're not seeing murders, you're not seeing fentanyl deaths coming over the border, 100,000 a year. You're not seeing those things, and it's very easy to wrap up something that your opposition doesn't believe in because they're bad people. Oh, you don't like Mexicans. Versus what it really is. These are people burying their kids. These are people burying their siblings. In the same sense, the opposition to communism isn't, oh, well, you're a greedy capitalist. No, no, no. Time and time again, across the board, every continent, every century, whenever this form of government is rolled out, everyone dies. Every Nazis bad, sure, 6 million people dead. Communism, 120 million dead. It's 20 times what the Nazi regime did. And so that's where I think is important. Oh, you don't like immigrants because they're no, 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 man. It's because my buddy died from a fentanyl overdose, and it's because it came over the southern border. It's very easy and very childish to wrap it up in a you're a xenophobe. Oh, you don't like communism. You're a fat cack. No, 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 no. Yeah, sure. Do I like capitalism? Absolutely. I want to make some money. I'd love to have a Lamborghini one day. You're fucking right. I do. I also have a brain. And I understand everyone dies. World War II, total deaths with civilians, 85 million. Communism in the 20th century, 120 million. Is World War II bad? Yeah. What is worse? More deaths. And I think that is the important thing. It's not it's not because you're some Wall Street fat cat. What you're talking about is no, syphilis in the blood, hunting rats, cooking them, running out of rats, neighbors
Mhm.
disappearing. That is what it is. Can you have gripes with capitalism? Sure. And you know what's beautiful about this country is you can talk about it and the police don't kick down your door at 2 a.m. The fact that you can come out and complain about and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm not saying it's a beautiful thing that I can criticize the United States. That's an incredible thing that I can say that and I don't have the fear that I'm gonna vanish or my family's gonna
Mhm.
vanish or that I'm gonna defect to France, and they tell me if unless I don't come back, my parents and my kids are all going to be imprisoned. That is an incredible thing. But the opposition to this is to, oh, you want a gold-plated yacht, and you don't want, black people to have health care. It is, it's childish at best, and it is maliciously disingenuous at worst,
Correct,
because that's
correct.
what it is. And so,
It's exactly how they sold us as communism in
Mhm.
China. They want peasant to hate, to install hatred and envy into their mind. It's always a class struggle according to Marxism and between the haves and don't haves. But they, like those people who are actually pushing for this kind of evil ideology and policies, they don't understand. They never lived it. Things can get worse if you vote for those people because once they take over the country, then you lose voting rights. How many people know that 1.4 billion Chinese have no voting rights? And how many people know that, during even just past few years under Biden, they censor speech. They shut down people. They even threatened Tulsi Gabbard and RFK. They were Democrats that time,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
remove YouTube channels. I was in Facebook jail to challenge COVID mandate and advocate for our small children whose long-term wear mask is bad for them and vaccine mandate. Like take away people's medical freedom. It's un-American. Say to be American, we have to focus on our common ground. What it means to be American. It's not where you were born. It's how much values and the funding documents that you understand. You embrace those American values of freedom, individual liberty, private property, and the rule of law and equal protection and individual meritocracy. I have seen all those things being destroyed based on racial identity politics. Now it's transgenderism, whatever, that it's always fighting each other instead of unite as Americans. I would love to talk to the people all over the country to say we are Americans and we have so much in common. Let's work together, solve our problems and have open discussions, debate. But it is another side don't want to debate me. My opponent refused to debate me 3 times on college campuses. She deprived the college kids the right to know who is best to represent them in Congress. So it's not me. I'm open to go everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I was banned from YouTube and iTunes in 2021 for, talking about COVID. And yeah, man, that's always, I will never turn someone down from this podcast. And I've had on people that I don't agree with at all. America is the worst thing ever. You're white, you're evil. But I'll hear them out because that is the beauty of this country is you can hear people out and you can disagree with them. I can tell
Right.
you for a fact. Yeah, you don't get that at YouTube. You know what you get if you disagree? Get out, removed. And and I think this is the important thing, and then for everybody listening, the links to everything is going to be in the description. So you can go, and I'm going to try to get you on another show. But in the last couple minutes, because we have to wrap it up, is look at what they did between 2021 and roughly we'll say January of this year, where Trump gets back in office. Look at what they were willing to do when they knew you had guns. What do you think they're going to do if you don't have them? Look what they were willing to do. They're willing to give kids vaccines that gave them heart attacks that normally don't happen until you're 80. They're happening to 6 months olds. And then they ban you if you talked about it. And that is knowing that you have an AR-15 and a ton of ammo. What do you think they're going to do if they can get their hands on that? Well, you don't have to wonder. You can look at your upbringing. You don't have to wonder what would that world be like. You can look back, and I can tell you what will happen. Each and every one of you will end up starved to death, and excuse me, or up against the fucking wall and shot till you're dead. That's what it is. You don't have to like it. You can say that's that's bleak. That's what it is. I wish we were all singing Kumbaya too. I wish God came down and ended world hunger and hey, of course I do, and I pray for it every day. But the reality is we live in a world where this is not an exception. This is the norm. America is an exception. America isn't an. Imagine if the day you were born you saw like a solstice or yeah, like a solar eclipse, and you went, "Wow, that's amazing." People would look at you and go, "This is really rare. You should savor this because every day is not this, right? Every day is not Christmas. That's why it's so special." America is not the norm. The fact that we have this constitution and we are in a resource rich land and we are separated by two oceans and everyone has a gun and we decided it's the best that you can choose your religion and your rights come from your creator and no one can tell you you can't do this and you're allowed to speak out. This is it this is Christmas. You- It is not normal. And you have to
I'm
defend it. You have to defend it till your death because it is not normal. And that's
I'm the loudest cheerleader for America, the greatest country on earth. So imagine somebody like me who came here with nothing, could run for Congress. I'm a passionate
exactly.
defender. I'm a passionate defender of our First Amendment and Second Amendment, all the God-given natural rights pre-exist of government, pre-exist of our laws. Exactly, all the Chinese cannot rise up to overthrow their minority basically controlled government because there are only like 100 million Chinese Communist Party members out of 1.4 billion people, but they are disarmed. They don't have chopsticks. They cannot fight the tyranny. So I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed. This is the greatest country, exceptional country, and we all need to have honest conversations. As I said, sit down to talk about our common ground, figure out the solutions, and put our American people first. And but the sense of we just have to sit down and forget about the hatred, forget about identity politics there, and be united. If we're united, Tommy, I believe we really have unlimited potential as the greatest country on earth. It can even get greater. The gold age is coming, right?
You make it even better, and that's what that's
Yeah.
what we're owed. If
That's why I have a gold color behind me. It's called a gold standard.
beautiful. Um, Miss Lily Tang, thank you so much. I'm gonna put all your links in the description. And I'm gonna try to get you on another podcast that's bigger than mine. And I would love to have you back on. I will send you this video. And I mean, truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you. What you're doing is incredible, and it just makes me appreciate this country so much more.
Thank you, Tommy. Young people like you really give me hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a great day.
Live free or die. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
correct.
Till next time,
Okay.
guys, thank you so much for watching. Please go to the description. Please go to our website, all that good stuff.